Welcome back, everyone, to BBB Sharing. I'm Evie, Director of Ignite, sparked by BBB. I have our wonderful friend Josh in here with me today.
Good morning, guys.
But we also have a very special guest that was kind enough to come and speak with us at 1 Million Cups this morning. We have Aliyah Desautels. She is the founder of Otterwise. Aliyah, tell us about Otterwise. I learned about it in 1 Million Cups, but everyone here has no idea.
Otterwise is essentially a tech-enabled service that helps career candidates and potential employers go for a test drive with each other. The reason why I started this company is because it's really difficult for a candidate to figure out if a company is going to be the right fit for them or if a role is going to be the right fit for them, especially if they're just starting out in their careers or trying to make a pivot in their careers. It's a really difficult equation. But it's also a really different equation from the employer standpoint. It's really hard to figure out if a candidate is actually going to fit within the values of your company, have the right working styles, behaviors that you need, and also the competencies that you need to be able to scale your business in the direction that you might end up moving in. It's a really difficult equation to figure out. So what Otterwise does is we host projects. We call them pre-hire projects. They're essentially like 2 to 4 or 5 weeks long, where you test out what it's like working with each other in a very hands-on way. You can figure out what someone's hidden skills are, what kind of behaviors and characteristics they bring to the workplace, what kind of passions they have, and what drives them. And the candidates get to figure out if this is the right kind of working environment for them, if they have what it takes to, if they're bringing the right things to the table for this business. And it's also helping them build real client experience so that even if they end up working with a different company, they're learning how to tackle these challenges before being hired, and it helps reduce the time that it takes for a candidate to reach optimum productivity levels. It also helps reduce the risk of turnover due to a bad hire by up to 40% per organization.
Wow. So you mentioning that, I'll give you a little backstory about how I even got here. So I was having a hard time finding a job because I didn't have enough experience, but I knew that what I could provide an employer would probably pale in comparison to anybody that had experience. And the only reason I say that is not that I'm tooting my own horn, but that I loved communicating with people and I loved working in an environment that was fighting for something. And I had the background of broadcast journalism, but with that, we learned PR and marketing and stuff like that. So I knew that I was a good communicator, not just in person, but through text as well. So I met Barry because he was willing to help send my resume out so that I could bypass the applicant tracking system that you talked about. And I knew that was an issue. I knew that was a reason why my resume was totally being like booted before a human even saw it. And Barry started talking to me and he's like, why don't you apply for a position that I have open at the BBB? And I was like, okay. He's like, you don't have enough experience for the job, but I think that you would be a good person to be on the team. I ended up getting the job. And in my mind, I was like, I wish other people had the same opportunity that I had. I got lucky in that I happened to know somebody who knew somebody who could get me to where I am today. And I feel like your Otterwise is the perfect opportunity for not just students, but you mentioned it before, people that are making a career shift to be able to have that opportunity. Not having the experience, but being able to prove that they can do what they say they can do.
Absolutely. That's what employers are looking for. Like when they're looking at resumes and where they're looking at interviews, what they're looking for is like, can you actually do what we need you to do? And unfortunately, those vetting methods don't really hit that nail on the head because you really are only hearing what someone says they've done in the past. Using someone's past experience as the only litmus test for their future success really limits your capability to hire the right team members and your capability to like support the career growth of other people, because everyone starts somewhere.
Exactly.
But if you can't get your foot in the door, then how do you even build enough experience to, get the experience you need to even get the job? It's this paradox that we are kind of stuck in as a society when it comes to hiring. And it's why skills-based hiring is such a difficult thing for people to actually achieve. So what we're trying to do is make it so that like it is more of an experiential thing, and there is a lot more human connection, because you do need to know the right people to get the right jobs, and then you need to prove that you can really do the job. And just looking at someone's past experience isn't always going to tell you whether they can do that job or not, or whether they have the right kind of frameworks and mindsets and capabilities. Bringing that into your team is really hard to see.
Yeah, because for all you know, that person could have just been sitting in a chair for 5 years doing what they say they were doing because it was in their job description, but they're not actually doing it.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you never know from an interview alone, just because like people will say what they think you want to hear.
Mhm.
Not that they're intentionally lying or anything like that. It's just it's hard to accurately depict.
It's how they're programmed too. I feel like we've all been programmed to sit in an interview and use those clickbait words, and you think an employer wants to hear. And so you're not actually portraying yourself and what you can actually do
Exactly.
and what you bring to the table.
Exactly. And then you get stuck somewhere that like doesn't feel right for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Josh, you had a question?
No, I just wanted to say, I think it also just helps in terms of like retaining your employee as well, because you have that personal connection. What you were saying, you don't have to like sift through all those resumes and be like, okay, this guy's good. And actually like connecting with that person personally. You'd also be able to kind of maybe see stuff in that person that they probably didn't see in them, and then work on their goals as well, or like, their traits that you think are really good as well. I think that also helps.
Absolutely. Like you really did hit the nail on the head with that statement, like especially for retention. Like if someone feels that your hiring process is not personal enough, then they're not getting to know you and the company, and like they're not really becoming obsessed with it in the way that sometimes you really need them to be passionate, about the problem that you're solving and like what impact they can leave on your organization. And like by taking away the human element in the hiring process, then you're setting up the wrong relationship from the start.
Yeah.
It's almost like dating. Like you don't want to marry someone because you swiped right on Tinder. Like you don't want to commit to a relationship just because of what's on paper. You need to test things out first.
Yeah.
And like ultimately, like you said, that's not going to be sustainable. That's not going to lead to retention. The only way to really do that is to, date first. And this Otterwise is kind of like helping people.
That's what I
date each
love
other, yeah.
about, and I want to touch base more on that human connection.
Mhm.
It is a website, but tell us more about how you get that human connection through Otterwise.
Yeah, the projects that we run like are really where that lives. So we have projects that again have people like literally test out what it's like working together, like how they interact with each other and with other candidates and other teammates. And like you get to like really learn about what the culture is hands-on. You get to really learn about what you can bring to the table hands-on, and you're not going to be really getting that from anything that purely lives online. So when I say that we're a tech-enabled service, we're building a tech-enabled service, I mean that this the value really does lie in this like the hands-on project stuff, but we use technology to be able to gather insights from hands-on experiences and be able to like kind of like list out someone's competencies and how those evolve over time. Better kind of like defining what someone is looking for and presenting that as like an alternative career profile, like instead of a LinkedIn profile or something like that. We help show all of these like hidden things. And that's what we use technology for, is to be able to like measure that over time and how it changes over time, but also just like present it to more people in a more accessible, scalable way while still keeping the core operations of the business revolving around this very like human-centered project process.
Tell me about an example of one of the most successful projects that you saw someone's looking for a job versus an employer. What was the most successful union that you guys saw?
So we are very early stage, so I've only really gotten out of a couple pilots, but our most recent pilot was really exciting because the client that we were working with, he needed short-term project work to be done to kind of help move the needle in his business, and was looking at this as like a more proactive approach to not just helping him like move the needle in his business, but also looking for like what kind of people will be able to help me scale this like in the long run, because as of right now, it's hard for that founder to figure out what he's actually going to need to hire for. So the reason why this is an interesting project that I want to highlight is because we got to kind of use the project to also help that founder define his hiring needs in the process while still getting work done. And what it kind of resulted in is knowing exactly what he's going to need to look for in a future marketing hire and a future engineering hire. And he was able to meet candidates before that hiring need occurs, test them out during the project, and then as soon as he raises enough capital to be able to secure funding for that position, he already knows exactly who he's going to hire.
Yeah.
And I love working with clients like that because you get to really shape the experience around the needs of the business, not just like a hiring need. And then you can help candidates deliver more impact during a project. It's not like they're doing a mock project. This one was exciting because they were delivering real impact. They had real agency over the success of this business moving forward. And whether or not they end up working with him, they can say, oh my God, I helped this startup get off the ground. I helped in this way. And that's something that when you're starting out, like very, very few people are able to say that they had an impact in that way.
And actually it's a question that somebody had asked you, and they had said, like, how do you help the business owner know exactly what they're looking for a position? Because you mentioned a lot of these small businesses don't have the funding to have an HR team or to have a marketing team to know what to look for when they're seeking out those positions. So you guys being able to help them do that, figure that out, and get a glimpse of the skills that they're looking for, the type of personality that meshes well with their company values, I think that is amazing, especially for small businesses.
Yeah. And first, especially small businesses, that equation is crucial because like you said, you don't have the money to hire like an HR team. You're not going to have the money to afford a bad hire.
Yeah.
Like turnover can cost about half of a person's salary once you lose them, if not more. That's a humongous chunk of money, not to mention all of the like time and effort to like replace that person or to like
make up for them training,
or like if something went wrong and you need to like kind of backtrack and redevelop something because of losing that hire, like all of those are costs that are like almost impossible to account for when you are a smaller organization. So it's really, really, really important to make sure that you're hiring the right person that's going to have the kind of scrappy mindset and be able to learn on the go. And like, instead of looking for specific technical skills, it's better to look for core competencies that would make someone easily transferable to different kinds of functions and future pivots that your business might end up making, especially if you're a startup.
Yeah.
What made you want to get into something like this? Like having that kind of bridge between like the employee and the employer. I think there was a lot of stuff, and I honestly think you have like one of the major answers for like probably the high unemployment is that personal connection. Because if you, as a boss or as an employer, just want someone to do a job, I just want them to do this and that's it. don't be surprised if they go because you're treating them like a robot. If you want a robot, you're going to get a robot. So just like what made you want to get that, have that connection?
Feeling that in my own career actually
Yeah.
is what made me get into this. Like it was so difficult when I was graduating college to figure out how to get a job that's going to make me feel like I am delivering the impact on this world that I want to, that I am being supported in the right environment. Like, and it's the kind of thing where like you kind of need to just get a job and try it out, but then you're kind of stuck in that job often, and it's hard to like get out of it. So it's the kind of thing where I built this just because I genuinely wish I had it.
Yeah.
And it would have helped me make sure that I was getting into the right career sooner. It's a more lean way to like kind of like test out what you want to pursue in life and make sure that you're developing the right skills in order to do that effectively without necessarily worrying about like feeling like, oh, I'm letting this employer down, or like I feel stuck in this career and I don't know how to like transition. Like I don't want people to have to like worry about that so much anymore. And that's kind of why I decided to start Otterwise. It's because I wanted a better way to help people do that from both sides of the table.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming in here and talking to us, Aliyah. Anybody that's listening, how can they get in touch with you? How can they get to Otterwise?
You can get to Otterwise on otterwise.io. All of my contact information is on there as well, but honestly, I'm open to emails. So if you reach out to me at Aliyah@otterwise.io, that's ALIYAH at otterwise.io. That's the best way to get in contact with me. So whether you're looking to proactively hire someone, you're looking for short-term work and are trying to figure out what your hiring or business needs are, or if you are a candidate and you're looking to make a transition in your career, or you're looking to get your foot in the door, I'm open to connecting with as many people as possible in all of those realms. So the best way, again, is going to the website and just reaching out to me on there.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Aliyah, again. Thank you, Josh, for joining us, for asking some good questions too. And anyone listening, Aliyah is in the perfect spot. You know, if you're an accredited business and you're listening to this is a great opportunity for you. Most of you are small businesses. Most of you are having the issue of finding employees to do certain work for you, or you don't know exactly what type of skill set you're looking for that position that you're looking to fill. Otterwise is the perfect place to start with that. So Aliyah, thank you so much for coming in. It was great talking to you and getting to know you better. Anyone listening, please make sure if it's on YouTube, you like and subscribe and give us a good shout out. And Aliyah, any last words?
Thank you so much for having me. This is my first podcast ever, and I can't tell you how giddy I am to be here. So thank you so much.
Right?
Yeah,
it was.
It's like having a conversation.
Bucket list item for me. This is amazing.
Check it off.
Really.
Exactly. Well, thank you everyone so much. Again, we're in the Ignite Sparked by BBB podcast studio. Thanks for listening.
Bye.